Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Conversations with Yoders Farm. I'm Eldon and Lowell is here with me today again. We're going to talk just a little bit about what we've been up to here on the farm the last little bit, and maybe even delve into some current events. So Lowell, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Eldon. It's good to be here. One of the fastest 15 minutes on the radio.
Or slow. Well, it depends how fast you speed your player up.
Yeah, I like to listen to us at least 2 times, if not 3. How actually do the players even go to 3 times?
I don't know. I usually do 1.75.
All right. That's a quarter faster than me.
That's all right.
So what did you want to talk to me about today? Oh, yeah, what we've been up to.
Yeah, that was the main thing.
Well, the last... Well, we've kind of been talking about the same themes, right? We're kind of in winter, think about spring, and we don't want to bore people too badly. But, hey.
Simple fact is, it's still kind of that way. So.
Yeah, not a lot has changed. We're in that zone. We've made a lot more progress on cleaning strawberry plants. We talked about that before. It's a good time in the late winter, early spring to go through, take off dead leaves, prune up plants, pull weeds,
etc.
Release plants that might be growing under the plastic. So we try to get over as many of our strawberry plants as we can, and if you have as many as we do, it takes a while, and it's sometimes hard to get all the help you need to do that, and we do what we can and try to get other people to help us do what we can, and we do the best we can and get over as many as we can, but that's about all we can do
there. Yeah
So we've been doing that. We have been off and on a couple times with the row covers. We've had a couple nights that were around 20, a little bit under, and we're starting to get into that range where temperatures are starting to concern us with our most advanced plants.
Yeah.
These are plants that either they're an earlier variety or plants that we have forced slightly earlier by using floating row covers through the winter.
Maybe we should mention we are towards the end of February here, February 21, 22.
Yeah.
I don't even
That's
remember.
true. Yeah. So a large percentage of our field we have actually left uncovered on purpose. We don't want all our berries to be on the early side. I'd rather space things out. So
yeah, gives you a little more of an extended season.
Try to push some areas and not push other areas, and it also spreads your risk a little bit if you push things. I'm willing to be a little more risky on a portion of my crop and try to push it, and if it all works out and you get it 2 weeks earlier, then that's great. And if it doesn't work out, well, you haven't risked as much of your crops.
Sure.
It's all about diversification, hedging your bets, spreading things out.
Yep.
All common themes. So, yeah, we've been up, doing that back and forth with the row covers. The reason the row covers are important at this time of the year is that we have actually starting to get some buds pushing. When they're really, really tight and right in the heart of the plant, they can handle pretty chilly temperatures, probably down into the upper teens, like without covering. But when they start growing out of that crown, the protection zone, they're more susceptible, and then you're probably getting up into the 20s. And so if you're if your row cover is providing 6, 7, 8 degrees of protection, depending on conditions, you're starting to get into that zone. So anyway,
that's strawberry news.
Yeah.
Anything else really?
So
we're
protecting buds, not even blooms at this point, but things that we're thinking about. We're trying to just do the weekly chores in the greenhouses. I just literally walked in from taking off suckers in one of our greenhouses. Suckers are little branches that shoot off of the main trunk of the tomato.
Yeah.
Do tomatoes have trunks?
Sure.
Tomatoes and elephants.
Vine, I think, is what it's technically
Tomatoes,
called.
elephants, and oak trees have trunks. Anyway, so you trim a couple of those off. Otherwise, your whole plant gets really bushy.
Yeah.
These are indeterminate tomatoes, and we've talked about that before. Just weekly chores like that. We try to get through the houses usually once a week and do the suckering. Usually they need a clip once a week and hooking the clusters and so forth. Anyway, so
lean and lower, is that a weekly thing or bi-weekly or?
Yeah, it depends. Usually it's bi-weekly.
Okay.
At least when the plants are up hitting the wires.
Yeah.
In our biggest spring house, which we've not started picking yet, the trellising system is actually pretty high in there, so
okay.
We've actually not had to do that yet.
Okay.
But when they hit the wire, then obviously there's no other place to go,
Sure.
so you gotta stretch them along the row. So.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, tomatoes are looking good. Almost to wind up our one little house where we've been picking tomatoes through the winter, a couple rows. We just started a big long row of cucumbers in there, English cucumbers. It'll be probably a month till we're picking many of those. And then we're going to take out, we actually have some tomatoes growing there, but it's a determinate tomato and they're about done. So we're going to take those out, and that's where our spring heirloom tomatoes will be planted, and probably in 2 weeks, maybe 3.
Okay.
Something in that time frame.
So you have the little plants already planted in trays, or?
We're actually ordering those. They're grafted heirloom plants. So we've experimented around with them some in the past, and they tend to be pretty productive, a little more vigorous than normal if they're grafted.
Yeah,
so
sure.
We've tried it both ways, and now we're going to go back and try grafted again. So we've also tried grafting our own, but that's pretty tedious and time consuming, and to be honest, we weren't that good at it the first time. It's something I'd like to play around with and master, but it's
an interesting technique for sure.
One of those things where we don't always have enough time, especially now with our labor being a little more challenging. So it's something we can get. We have a lady from Pennsylvania, called, what is her, Redefined, I think is the name of her business.
Okay.
And she does a lot of grafting. So I think she has them planted, so we're supposed to get them about the 1st of March. We planted a few ourselves, and they're non-grafted, so we're going to also plant those in there and compare them and see if there's any difference.
Sure.
Experiment.
Always experiment with something.
We try.
Yeah.
That's kind of the catch-up. We're, obviously thinking strawberry season isn't that far around the corner, so we're thinking about some things we need to do before then. Of course, the daily feeding of the livestock and the daily feeding of the stoves, which Dad pretty much does that. And, of course, the daily chasing of the cows, which he did this morning. That takes up some time.
Yeah, hopefully that will be a little less frequent in the future.
Probably not daily, but anyway, it happens.
Yeah.
And I've been poking around my hives a little bit. The interesting thing is, the maples are starting to bloom. Saw a few daffodils up, things are getting there. And like we mentioned back in the ticking clock episode, bees are fascinating because, they can't get out and fly every day in this kind of weather. Cooler days like today, they're probably not really out flying. If it gets up above 50, they're out flying. But even bees are thinking about, seasons.
Yeah. They
are laying eggs furiously. The queen is. And they're doing what's called brooding up. They're getting ready. They're building they go through the winter with this small population of bees,
Yeah.
And then they're getting ready for the springtime expansion.
Explosion.
Life is good. Lots of flowers, lots of resource come into the hive. Let's get ready for it. So there's, things. It's interesting how nature gears up that way, and as farmers who work with nature, we got to do the same thing.
There you go. We're basically like bees.
Yeah.
Constantly running to and
only
fro.
other thing on my mind was, unless you had something on your mind,
I think we just need to talk about the current events thing, and
that's
pretty much
this
it.
is not a political show. Have no intentions.
Not yet. Maybe
really delving into politics.
Maybe
too
we'll
much.
pivot sometime, but it is not a.
We accept money from all customers, regardless of political affiliation.
Yeah.
But of course, recently on the news, there were some comments about farming, possibly being something that pretty much anyone can do. And I've been thinking about that a little bit as I've been farming the last week.
It was a little more pointed than that. It was like, if you're farming, you're probably not as smart as some other people.
Yeah, I guess that was kind of what it was, wasn't it? So there's a lot of truth to that. I've been thinking there's a lot of truth to that. Most anyone can go out there and put a seed in the ground. And, of course, there are a few things you probably want to take into account before you put that seed in the ground. First of all, you want to figure out what kind of seed you're going to plant. Are you going to plant a corn seed, or are you going to plant a soybean seed? You're going to figure out what kind of variety of tomato you're going to grow, what kind of variety of strawberry you're going to grow. Certain varieties do better in certain areas than other varieties. So you probably want to think about that a little bit before you just put that seed in the ground. And then, of course, you're going to want to think about the kind of ground that you're putting it in. What are the nutrients in that ground? Are you going to take a soil sample? You're going to want to figure some of those things out before you just go out willy-nilly and put the seed in the ground.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you want to think a little bit about timing. You don't want to just put the seed in the ground at the wrong time of the year. So, of course, if it's a crop like tomatoes, you want to plan ahead. Okay, when do I want these tomatoes coming in? Extrapolate back, figure out that. If it's soybeans, when is my last frost? If it's something like strawberries, you got a 2-week window where it's best in your part of the world, and that varies whether you're in Georgia or in Pennsylvania. So you got to figure all that out. So, of course, you want to think about that before you put that seed in the ground. And then if you're going to put a seed in the ground, you want to, make sure that, if you're going to grow a crop, you actually have someone to sell the crop to. It doesn't do a lot of good to grow a pretty plant and have no one to sell it to. So think about your markets, Of course, if you're planting soybeans, your markets may be overseas in China and all sorts of things you got to think about there, though they're sort of out of our control. But, of course, closer to home, if you're going to grow tomatoes, if you're going to grow sweet corn, you want to have, a plan in place to get rid of the crop that you plan to grow. So you want to think about that a little bit. Most anyone can go out and put a seed in the ground, but you got to think about where you're going to market that plant once it comes, grows into a crop. And, of course, if you're going to grow a crop and you're going to invest in that crop, you're going to want to, take good care of it. So you're going to want to know what kind of requirements it needs as far as fertilizer and irrigation and all those kind of things. And you're going to want to commit to putting forth the effort that's needed to bring that crop into existence. So you'll probably be out there, on the four-wheeler late at night running to the irrigation pump to start it, and you'll probably be out there early in the morning, and you'll be putting some fertilizer in and doing those kind of things. And of course, you need to be prepared to protect it if you from, say, in this case, strawberries, other sensitive crops, frost, those kind of things. There are things that you can do to protect your crops, and you might be out there pretty late at night and pretty early in the morning, or in between. Pretty much anyone can do this, but And then, of course, you want to pests. There are a lot of things that like to eat the plant that you're trying to grow. So you want to, basic knowledge of, if it's tomatoes, white flies, aphids, thrips, what these things look like, what kind of other fungal, bacterial diseases could affect tomatoes. If it's something like strawberries, you want to know about spider mites, and you want to know about clippers, and of course, and botrytis gray mold, and the other crops have other pests that target them. And of course, you want to know a little bit about the weeds. Certain weeds are an issue. We've been pulling out Carolina geranium in our strawberry plant holes, so you want a basic idea of what Carolina geranium is, and maybe vetch, and what your different weeds are. So you want to, you need some sort of basic knowledge probably of the pests that will be targeting this seed. Anyone can do it, but you'll want a little bit of a knowledge base there. So, And then if you're going to use chemical control, of course, there's a whole realm of knowledge that you need to know. You need to know what chemical is best used, when, where, what time, and you'll probably have some
how to use it,
continuing education in that regard. If you have a license to use chemicals, and certain chemicals are best suited for certain things, and so you want to factor. Anyone could do this, but it'll take a while to do this kind of research, and you want to talk to a lot of smart people and so forth. So I guess my point is, there's probably anyone can do this, but there's probably a reason that only 1.3% of the working population in the United States is farmers, and probably not a good idea to criticize people who work with their hands and work very hard with their hands. And Mr. Bloomberg, it's probably not a good idea to criticize people that grow your food.
There you go. Well, that was a little tirade from Lowell there. He's definitely been thinking about this, and something that is kind of on our minds these days, and something we care about a fair bit. So that will be the end of the episode today. So Lowell is walking out. I think he's going to go make another cup of coffee and go pull some weeds or something. So if you made it this far in the episode, thanks for listening. We do appreciate it, and we'll be back in another couple of weeks with another podcast episode. So we'll see you then. Bye.